Hey, Shalom Israel, Brother Reggie Jr. here. I hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to take a look at Numbers chapter 20, just picking up where I left off from last time. Now, in the previous lesson, we did Numbers chapter 19, which was the ordinance of the red heifer. As we found out, the ordinance of the red heifer was simply just a purification ritual and rite. Okay, but again, that was done under the law of Moses. We don't do that because we're under Christ now. We're not under the law of Moses. Now, those that are under the law of Moses, you need to be making sure you're keeping that ordinance of the red heifer. But those of us that's under Christ, we don't have to worry about that. You leave that to the people that's under the law of Moses, because you do realize if you don't keep that ordinance of the red heifer, you in big trouble with the Most High. But see, under Christ, we don't have to worry about that. But anyway, brothers and sisters, we're going to go ahead and get started. Numbers chapter 20 and verse 1. And it says, Then came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there. And our wonderful foremother Miriam, one of the three leaders of Israel, she has just passed away, brothers and sisters. And, I know we kind of skip over this, but you do have to understand this was tough on me. You have to realize that was rough on Moses, because at the end of the day, this was his sister. Sometimes we tend to forget that Moses and Aaron and them, they had family. So Moses and Aaron, they felt this. I know they felt this death right here, but you know what, brothers and sisters? Death is just a part of reality, just like taxes. We have to accept that it's a part of reality and we have to live with it. And guess what, brothers and sisters? The work goes on. A lot of the teachers that you admire and that you follow behind, the day is going to come, if the Lord doesn't return, that they're going to pass away. And you're going to have to take this torch, and you're going to have to carry this torch. You're not going to always be watching your teachers carrying the torch. Eventually it's going to pass to you, and you're going to have to take this thing to the finish line. And so that's all the reality that we have to accept. The apostles, Jesus, they all died. But guess what? The mission still continues, brothers and sisters. Okay. Verse 2. It says, And there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And you know why the children of Israel gathered themselves together against Moses and Aaron? Because they don't believe God. They still think they're dealing with men. Because all they see is Moses and Aaron, like I explained to you guys in the previous lessons. They refuse to see God in any of this. So they keep going. They keep rising up and going against Moses and Aaron like they can do anything. Moses and Aaron couldn't do anything. It was all the Lord. And that's what the Lord was trying to show Moses, Aaron, and the children of Israel. Without me, you can't do nothing. And obviously Moses and Aaron understood that, but the children of Israel, they didn't understand that. Verse 3. And the people chode with Moses, so they were striving with him, and spake, saying, With God that we had died when our brethren died before the Lord. And it's like Israel they just keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over and over again. You would think at some point Israel would get a clue. What they said, insanity is doing the same thing the same way, expecting a different outcome. That's insanity. This people called Israel is insane. They will keep the death cycle going on and on and on, and they never get a clue and say, hey, maybe we should do something different. Nope, they just keep the death cycle going. Because our people, man, they're hard-headed. The Lord said this is a stiff-necked and a rebellious people, a people that continues to make the same mistakes over and over again. Okay. There was an elder that once told me, he said, listen here, young man, let me tell you something. He said, you're not a fool for making a mistake. He said, oh, no, you're not a fool for making a mistake. You're a fool when you make a mistake and you don't learn from that mistake. The children of Israel, they're a bunch of fools. They keep making the same mistake over and over again, and they never learn from that mistake. Therefore, that makes them a nation of fools. Truly. Verse 4. And why have ye brought up the congregation of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? Now, all these years that passed by, they ain't died yet, but they haven't seen that though. But we're not going to talk about it. Let's keep going. Verse 5. And wherefore have you made us to come up out of Egypt, to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed. And I'm going to read the scripture. We're going to find out why the Lord brought them into this evil place. We're going to figure out, even for us, why did the Lord bring us into captivity? Well, we're going to see. It is no place of seed or figs or vines or of pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. Verse 6. And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces. And the glory of the Lord appeared unto them. Now, we're going to figure out why the Lord brought the congregation to this evil place, and why he brought us into captivity. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and go to Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8. And I think I've already read this verse in a different lesson, but it doesn't matter. We're going to read it again. Deuteronomy 8:3. This is why he brought them into that evil place. Why he brought us into captivity. He said, what? Well, I'm going to read verse 2 as well. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee. So what? This is to what? He brought us to thee in this captivity, and for our ancestors in that evil place called the wilderness, to what? To humble thee, to prove thee, and to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. So the Lord did all of this to see if we would be obedient when circumstances does not align with you being obedient. Will you still be obedient when circumstances around you go directly against being obedient to God? Verse 3. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger. So the Lord was the one that suffered the Israelites to hunger, and fed thee with manna. Because remember, there was no food around. When we're talking about a wilderness, brothers and sisters, we're talking about death, snakes, spiders, all kind of evil in the wilderness, just death in the wilderness. But guess what? The Lord still what? Fed them, fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread only. And he showed our people this by bringing them into a wilderness, a place that has nothing, a place where if you dwell there, you will die. It is a certainty. You will die. He said, but I took you there so that you know that man don't live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doeth man live. You know what he's saying? It doesn't matter whether you're in a hospitable environment or a lush, green, prosperous environment. Whether or not you live or die, whether you come to poverty or prosperity, it is all by my word. I'm the one that determines what your situation is, not your environment, not your enemies, your friends, none of that mess. The Lord say, I dictate that. I can make you to dwell in the wilderness and you will be prospering, eating, belly full, drinking water. Throat won't be parched. But then I could take you out of that wilderness where there's death, where you're prospering and you got food, water, everything you need. And I can take you into a place that is prosperous, where there's plenty to drink, plenty to eat. There's just plenty, but I will make sure in that place you're impoverished. I'll make sure you can't eat, drink. I'll make sure you don't have the things you need. So the Lord is telling you, your environment, your enemies, your friends, they don't dictate none of that mess. I dictate that. That's what he's telling Israel. And we need to understand that, brothers and sisters. That's why even right here in this captivity, the Lord will make a table for you before all your enemies. Your enemies, this is their land. And in their land, they're not prospering. But you, a captive. You're a captive, a slave, man. You prospering in their land. A land that is not yours. You're prospering, a slave, a captive. But them, your enemies, this is their land and they're not prospering. You know why? By every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doeth man live. I'm the dictator. I'm the puppet master. I decide who lives and dies. I decide who eats and starves. I decide all of that. The Lord trying to show you his supremacy. He's trying to show you that I reign supreme. Your enemies can bring you to a place where they mean you harm. But in that place, God calls that place where your enemy brought you for harm and caused the place to prosper, causes you to prosper. Lord trying to show you. That's the type of power I got. That's why I need you to do what I say. That's why I need you to have faith in me, because I determine all of that. Okay. Now let me get some of this celery juice. It's back again. Man, that was good. Now back to Numbers 20, and I got to figure out where I was. Okay, the middle of verse 5. Or let me see. Nope, I completed that. Verse 7, okay. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take the rod, and gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water. So Moses, we see, he was supposed to speak to the rock, and it was supposed to bring forth water, which is impossible, by the way. I hope you guys know that. That was a miracle. So Moses was supposed to speak to this rock, and it will bring forth water. And thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. Think about that. Out of a rock, guys. Out of a rock. That's why when Satan came to Jesus, he told Jesus, hey, command them stones to be turned into bread. Your enemies, I'm trying to tell you right now, they could say brother, sister, they could say brother such and such. sister such and such. This the government coming to you. And they chain you up. And they say, we banishing you. We exiling you to the wilderness. You're going to die there. That's where we want you, Negro, Negress. And they unchain you once they get to the wilderness and they say, now die. And they drive off or fly off or wherever they go. But the Lord come to you and say, hey, don't worry about none of that. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to completely take care of you here. The Lord causing water to come out of rocks. He turning stones in the wilderness into bread, completely sustaining you. So, brothers and sisters, we have nothing to fear. We have the God of all heaven and earth on our side. We have no reason to fear our enemies, our circumstances, or anything that's going on in our personal life. Because we have a God that can do anything that he wants to do. See, his thing is he just wants to see if you're going to believe in him. That's all this is. This whole wilderness journey, that's what this whole thing has been about. Trying to get Israel to believe in him. Trying to show them, I can take you into a place where there's nothing but death, and I will cause you to prosper out there. So, brothers and sisters, he's showing us, I don't have any limitations. You do. Everybody else around you does, but I don't, because I can do what I want. I'm the dictator. I'm the puppet master. I do as I please. The Lord said, hey, listen, when my word goes forth, who gonna stay my word? Who gonna stop my word? Your boss at work, the president, the prime minister, the EU, they can't do ish. They can't do, and I mean that. They can't do ish. Because you know why? They men. They under the same God we under. God tell us all to jump, we say how high. When he tell us to run, we say how fast. Wicked or righteous, we have to do what he say. He don't play. Okay? But let's keep reading. The middle of verse 8. It says, so thou shalt give the congregation and their beasts drink. Okay? Verse 9. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord, and he commanded him. As he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the Lord. And he said unto them, hear now, ye rebels. And boy, you can already see Moses is mad. He is pissed because he is so sick of Israel's rebellious and stubborn spirit. So Moses said, hear now, ye rebels. You know, let's actually look that word up. Let's look that word up. I got my iPad right here, y'all. Give me a little second to unsheath it from the case. Here we go. Not unsheath it, but uncover it from the case. Let's look this word rebels up. Because sometimes power is given to the word when you read the definition. So sometimes when you're looking at these words, brothers and sisters, try to look some of these words up. Because it brings power to it. So what was that? Verse 8. Let's see. No, that wasn't verse 8. That was verse 10. So let's look and see what that means. Rebels. It says, a person who rises in opposition or armed resistance against an established government or rulers. And that's Israel. Always going against authority for their evil. They only going to go against authority that's going to tell them they got to live right, that they got to get in order, that they got to be men, that they have to be women. That's the authority that Israel goes against. Wait a minute. I gotta live right. Oh, hell no. We gonna burn this thing down. That's the children of Israel, 100%. Says, hear ye now, ye rebels, into verse 10. Must we fetch you water out of this rock? 11. And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and the beasts also. But if you guys remember in verse 8, Moses was actually supposed to speak to the rock, but instead he took his rod and smote the rock twice, and he did that in his anger. He was frustrated. The children of Israel got on his nerves, because remember, Moses has been dealing with these people, guys, for decades. Moses is tired. I am so sick of these rebellious people. Now, if Moses feel like that, because remember, Moses dead. He's been dead for centuries now. Centuries upon centuries upon centuries. Moses been dead for a while, but the Lord is still putting up with us from since our inception all the way to 2024. How do you think the Lord feels? And now you wonder why Israel, we got all this evil on us. Because the Lord too is sick of our rebelliousness. Verse 12. And the Lord is going to reprimand Moses for his actions. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron. Okay, so he's talking to both of them. He ain't talking to just Moses. He says, because ye believed me not, to sanctify me, or to separate me in the eyes of the children of Israel. Because when Moses, when he performed that action, it made it look like it was him, that he was making all of this stuff happen, when in fact this was the Lord. And so that further takes the children of Israel's eyes away from the Lord, and it puts it on Moses and Aaron, because they already don't believe in God. And so that act that Moses committed, that didn't help at all, because they really think it's Moses and Aaron now. So Moses brought all of the attention to himself and not to the Most High. And so in doing that, he didn't sanctify the Lord. And so unfortunately, the Lord is going to pass judgment on him. He said, because you didn't sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, he says, therefore, he talking to Aaron too, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. In other words, they're not going in the promised land. 13. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with the Lord, and he was sanctified in them. So notice how it said they didn't strive with Moses and Aaron. They strove with the Lord. Because remember, Moses and Aaron is just the physical vessel that the Lord is using to lead the children of Israel and to do his mighty works through. 14. Let me see. Here we go. Let me get some of this. And put this iPad back down. All right, here we go. Verse 14. And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Now remember, the Edomites is Jacob's twin brother. Okay, so they're traveling. And now Moses has sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel, thou knowest all the travail that have befallen us, how our fathers went down into Egypt. So the Edomites, our brothers, they knew all of that stuff. And how we dwelt in Egypt a long time. And the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And when we cried unto the Lord, he heard our voice and sent an angel, and he have brought us forth out of Egypt. And behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the uttermost of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards. In other words, not only when we walk through your country, not only are we going to walk through, but we're going to make sure we don't put our hands on none of your stuff. Neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor to the left until we have passed thy borders. Verse 18. And this is what our brother said. And Edom said unto him, Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with the sword. And so our brother was not playing. He said, you better not pass by me. Verse 19. And the children of Israel said unto him, We will go by the highway, and if I and my cattle drink of thy water, then I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. Verse 20. And he said, Thou shalt not go through. And Edom came out against him with much people and with a strong hand. 21. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border. Wherefore Israel turned away from him. Now, Edom, yes, was our brother. But at the same time, Edom also was full of fear, okay? Because all of the nations, including our brothers, they was fearful because of the Lord that was on our side. They was scared to death. They was deathly afraid. So Edom was like, listen, don't come this way. To the point they went to the uttermost part of their border with an army darn near. And was like, listen, you better not come this way. So Israel basically was met with physical force. And though they had that fear on them, brothers and sisters, at the end of the day, Edom considered us enemies. Not Edom the man, but the descendants. You know, they considered us enemies. And so guess what? They did the right thing in not letting us through. Hey, we're not going to let you through here. And I don't blame the children of Edom for what they did, because you never trust an enemy. Never believe your enemies. So I completely understand that rationale. But these black people today, man, let me tell you something. If they was those Edomites, they would have let Israel right on through. You let that happen, Edom coming through. Israel, we need to just, go through your border. We won't touch now. Our people let them right in. Why? Because they love the other nations. They love this stuff. That's why you can't even blame our great king Josiah. You can't blame him for not letting Egypt pass through. Because guess what? That was our sworn enemy. I'm not finna just let you pass through where all my wives and children are. I'm not finna let you do that. So that is the correct rationale of thinking. Now we know the Lord used that for Josiah because he had to get Josiah out of the way because he really wanted to get his hands around Israel's neck. But as long as Josiah was there, the Lord couldn't do what he wanted to do or perform the evil that he wanted to do to the children of Israel for all the evil that they had done. So he had to use something to get Josiah out of the way. All right. Now, we're going to continue reading. Let's see. I think it was something I was supposed to read. Okay. I was going to say the Edomites didn't really have anything to fear anyway. Now, of course, they didn't know this. But the Lord told Israel this, but of course, Edom did not know this. But Israel knew this, so Edom didn't really have anything to be afraid of. Deuteronomy chapter 2, and I'm going to read, as soon as I flip the page, verse 3 through 5, and it says, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough, turn you northward, and command thou the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. So we see why they didn't give the children of Israel passage, because they were afraid. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore. So he says, meddle not with them. So if they become afraid and send an army out against you, look, man, don't fight them. Because what? For I will not give you of their land. In other words, you fight them, you're going to fall by the sword. Because you're not going to take their land. Why? No, not so much as a foot breadth. Because I have given Mount Seir to Esau for a possession. So let's say at this point in time, if Israel was like, oh man, screw it, we finna go through anyway, and they would have started a war with their brethren, the Edomites, they would have lost. Israel actually would have lost, because the Lord, once he say something, that's what he mean. I'm not gonna give you the children of Edom's possession. So don't fight against them, because I'm not giving you their land. So just, you better go a different way or do what you got to do. Because why? This land is not your resting place. I got another land for you. That's why. But we're going to keep reading, guys. We're going to finish it out now. Verse 22, and the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came to Hor. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor, by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people. So the Lord is letting the children of Israel know it's about time for Aaron to die. So he shall be gathered unto his people. So Moses is getting ready to lose another sibling. For he shall not enter into the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. And so we see that the higher you are in leadership, the more severe the consequences are for being disobedient unto the Lord. Because remember, as a leader anyway, you're supposed to be setting an example into the rest of the sheep. So if you falter, they're going to falter. So we have to make sure as leaders, we have to make sure we're leading by example. And brothers and sisters, you're leaders. Why? Because a lot of you have children. And even if you don't, there are children, black children, boys and girls that are looking up to you. And if you falter, they're going to falter. And we have to make sure we see it that way. We can't just be thinking about self, because we're very selfish. No, you can't just be thinking about yourself. You got to be thinking about them children, the weak ones, because they're going to grow up someday and they're going to take on this mantle. We got to make sure they're prepared physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, every area in life. We got to make sure they're ready, y'all. Verse 25. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up into Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, because Aaron is going to have to be replaced as the high priest, because he's getting ready to die. So he said, hey, take Aaron and Eleazar his son, bring them up to Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them upon Eleazar. So Eleazar is going to become the high priest. And Aaron shall be gathered into his people, and shall die there. And Moses did as the Lord commanded. And they went up into the mount to Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there in the top of the mount. And you know that hurt Moses, because at the end of the day, guys, Moses and Aaron and Miriam, they played their role, but they were still siblings. So you know they felt that. You know Moses felt that. You've been with your brother who he loved for a very long time, died. And then Eleazar, he just witnessed his father. He witnessed his daddy die. So you know Eleazar was hurt too. So Aaron, he died in the top of the mountain. But you know, for Aaron, I'm sure this was rest, because the children of Israel drove him nuts. So for Aaron, for him, that was rest. Whew, finally, because these rebels dealing with Israel, man, it's something else. So you know, for Aaron, that was rest. But nevertheless, Eleazar and Moses, you know, they felt that death. 29. But like I said, the work got to go on. 29. When all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel. And that tore the congregation of Israel up, because Aaron led them for a long time. One of their greatest leaders just died. And so, you know, they was crying. And you know, Israel's good for that. They never appreciate their leadership while they got them. But as soon as their leadership died, they be crying their eyes out, all kind of stuff. But you didn't appreciate them when they was alive. But when they die, you want to act the fool and cry all over the place. So we got to make sure we appreciate, brothers and sisters, the men and the women that God have raised up at this time. Because, hey, these older men and women of God, they're not going to always be around. If Christ don't return, hey, they're going to die. And the show going to have to go on. We're going to have to carry this mantle, like I said. So we have to make sure that we're ready. Hey, while your elders, you know, while your teachers are still alive, the men and the women, hey, ask them questions. Pick their brain. Because they're not going to be around forever, brothers and sisters. And when they pass, hey, all of that knowledge is going to die with them. And so we need to make sure we getting everything they got. We need to make sure we putting it in our mind, because we're going to have to take the places of these men and women who pass away. Okay. But that's it for this lesson, guys. I hope you got some understanding, and I will see you in the next chapter. Shalom.